When you see us show up like this, just know it is a Friday and it's time for you to wind down. It is time for you to lessen on the stress that you have. It is time for you to get into the weekend mode, and that is what we do on Friday, making sure we're actually into the weekend. Welcome aboard. This is Good Morning Uganda Friday special. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda, and of course I am riding this morning with Chirawa Robert Nyonyintono, call him Uncle Bob for Friday, and Jerome Paul Sonko, call him JP Live for Friday, I repeat. And that is how we'll be moving this very morning, making sure we keep you updated, but in the most interesting way we can on a Friday. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, our dear viewer. Friday is here, and so are we. And, well, you see, this entire week has been filled up with lots of enjoyments, by the way. Besides the Eid el-Fitr celebrations that happened on Wednesday, you do realize that for the third consecutive week, I think, is it the second consecutive week where we are only having 4 days of, of working, especially for those who are in the corporate space?
Yes,
some of them have actually been working 4 days a week.
It is the second week.
Yeah, so you get to realize that there was a time I saw some people actually saying kudos to President Yoweri Museveni for the fact that they've been working for only 4 days for 2 consecutive weeks. And, well, for people who love, to have some leisure time, many of them are really happy about how these 2 weeks have actually been.
But here we are. Sonko, tell me yesterday did not feel like Monday.
It did. Yeah. It really felt like Monday. And I got a shocker on Wednesday, by the way, because I almost passed where I'm supposed to. I almost passed my home because I think it was too much food. I had forgotten that I actually stay somewhere else. And unfortunately, I can't even explain what really happened. I think I'll explain this while I'm off air. Because it was an experience I would love to remind people. I don't know why Chirabo is shocked, but let me tell you, it was a shocking experience for me. But here we are.
I would like to know how your week has been. What story stood out for you, except with yesterday's new development of the request to have maybe a salon in Parliament?
Well, what stood out for me really still in Parliament, in 2027, Uganda is going to be hosting the African Cup of Nations together with Tanzania and Kenya. The Pamoja bid that was accepted by CAF, which is the Confederation of African Football. So when you look at it from our preparations perspective, earlier this year, Minister Ogwang had actually revealed that the Nelson Mandela National Stadium will be ready by June for Uganda to host some of its matches, like the World Cup qualifiers and African Cup of Nations qualifiers. So many of the football fanatics in Uganda were really excited that we shall be able to host our games in our fortress in Nambole. For many of the football supporters, especially those who have been following the Uganda Cranes, you do realize that the Uganda Cranes is no longer performing so well because we've been hosting our games away from Uganda. And the chances are we are most probably going to host the remaining matches of this year still away from Uganda. Why is that so? The CAF officials that came to Nambole or to the Nelson Mandela National Stadium revealed that the stadium is yet to meet the standards. And please do note that the UPDF Engineering Brigade has actually been doing tremendous work in renovating the Nelson Mandela National Stadium. Yes. But now, yesterday, the Speaker to Parliament, Right Honourable Anita Ann Among, called upon Honourable Ogwang to actually come out and give accountability of the money that was used. Because if the CAF officials came out and revealed that the stadium is yet to meet the international standards, then what did they use the money for? So that really stood out for me because many of the Ugandans are really still shocked that the stadium, because by the look of things, earlier this year journalists went there to actually make a study, and the stadium was looking really good. When you look at the sitting area, you look at the seats that were already placed, even the grass, or what you could call the playing surface, which is meeting international standards. But I want to believe there are certain other things that need to be cleared really by CAF officials to make sure that the stadium is back up. So that really stood out for me. And but not only that, looking into the other details in regards to the news, I think even Eid el-Fitr celebrations really stood out for me. Why? Because I got the opportunity to be invited. And I hope it was on a Friday like this. It would be Idi Friday, or let's say Idi, it would be a 3 days holiday. But nonetheless, coming in midweek, it was still a blessing in disguise. And I'm looking forward to see what else the country is yet to give us in regards to news this weekend.
You were talking about Honorable Gwang, and you talked about the surprising bit was the fact that we seem not to be ready. But for me, the surprising bit is the fact that at one particular point, the same gentleman was the one exposing the gaps that were in certain projects over the years. So why then do we have him on the spot at the moment? Yet he should be the person showing us that, listen, having been entrusted with the project, I have done tremendously. And we shouldn't be seeing the gaps that he was exposing in other people's projects. Anyway.
You know, he has always been promising Ugandans of quality work. So we're waiting. And he was giving us deadlines.
We still have up to June, so let's wait and see if by June we'll have got the results that he promised us. Uncle Bob.
I'm now even feeling sad because my only hope lied in Nambole. Now what should be done if he doesn't?
At least you've been motivated to compose a song.
Because, you know, for us Christians, have my only hope lies in Jesus Christ. Now, if Nambole has this problem, that's where my hope was. You know, when we were in school, we used the terms like akasuwa kange, you know? I was very sure that now, if not, my sister, if Nambole has issues, then let's first leave that aside. Because I don't want to, but when that team goes there as well, then I'll be able to talk about that. But for now, I hope we put in place what is required. Otherwise, that we may lose out on that, and that will be very bad. But I think for me, the story that stood out this week is the IFRIS, the standoff between URA and the traders, and the various members of Kasita. If you've been following some 10 committees of parliament, these traders are very good speakers. Yesterday I was watching one, I think he heads traders dealing in agricultural produce, you know? And he told members of parliament that we've been beating the herdsman and we have not gotten hold of the owner of the cow. When we meet the president tells us, URA. When we meet URA, they tell us, parliament, now you're the people that pass these very taxes on us. Now we've come back to you. Rectify these issues. You have no problem paying you big allowances as we shrink, but please make sure you have the right taxes. Then he made a joke, but I think it was out of anger. He said, when you people mess and you're out of business, when we came into this committee, I saw all of you yawning, meaning you wanted to eat something. Now, when we move out of business, you will yawn for weeks and fail to be here. So treat us well, be very sensitive, invite us before you pass these taxes. And also the fact that it's all seems not yet over, because even I'm seeing some information that on Tuesday, the traders are planning to do the same thing all over the country on IFRIS and other issues.
I actually had an interaction with a trader yesterday who has had first-hand experience with how things have been running, especially downtown. Now, someone comes and enters your shop and scans everything in the shop and then tells you, but you're supposed to be paying there's a certain property tax, and the person says, but I don't own property, this is not my property. It's like even some people who are implementing some of these things are not aware of what exactly they are doing. Then also, for example, in his case, they put his tin to be VAT taxable, and he was like, why is my personal tin being used? Why are you taxing me? Personally, yet a business has its what? Has its TIN number. So, and then he had to go and file for like cancellation. Then he comes back to the office and there is a different person and they're speaking a different language, and it takes about a whole day to get all these things rectified. I still think URA as well needs to organize itself internally, because these challenges have been there. And the truth is, from what is being said, if all goes according to plan, there is more 2 weeks of strikes, and this is traders across the country, not just in Kampala?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate. I want to be very honest. Much as the traders fighting IFRIS, some of them are just following the bandwagon. They don't understand actually why, but they're just following. Because you must have an annual turnover of 150 million for you to be able to pay VAT.
Now, and some people are being taxed without even being able to
the
earn
problem
that.
comes that some even are not affected by IFRIS, but they are demonstrating or striking. Why? Because there are rotten beans in URA that are taking advantage of the enforcement of IFRIS, that will just come to your shop, Chantal, scan and say, let me look at.
According to what we see, the location of your shop, they will not actually, someone told me,
So-
they don't mind about how much you're earning. They'll be like, according to the location of your shop and how big it is, you're supposed to be paying this money.
Yes, and now they're using this to extort. Because a person will fear, don't give me this, let me not pay this fine, and they'll get some money out of them. So the rotten beans in URA, some rotten beans in URA, are the people bringing the issues. And the problem is, URA has failed to understand that. For them, they're simply saying these traders just want to dodge
not
tax.
want to pay the tax.
Don't have to pay the tax. But let's look at the traders in Chikubu. How many are they? How many of them are on the VAT list or should be on the VAT list? Why are all these demonstrating? You're offloading property, then people from URA come, and then they check, scan, and say, well, you're supposed to be on IFRIS, but you don't have 150 turnover. So they scare you, and two organizations I've seen in this country, briefly, Chantal, where people in these organizations are like demigods, and people they should serve fear them. URA, KCCA. Leave alone that top management now.
It must be because
But there is a level there that
must
you
be
don't
because of
bargain.
enforcements.
And these two organizations, some of their staffs are extorting money. Because
From,
of
the-
that, towards an URA, towards an KCA, to someone like Gisinga.
No, the worry of the traders, though, is a lot of energy in regards to enforcement that the URA uses while going downtown on these traders is something that worries them. That when it comes to the bigger businesses, URA is not doing the same. It's actually not putting in a lot of effort as it is doing with the local traders. Many of them
businesses
feel
have
there is a lot of segregation as well.
No, big businesses have connections.
Which
You're
is
not
a
going
worrying
you're not
state
going
for
to,
Uganda.
Buzz around someone who has a big business because they have connections. It's simply a call away. Hey, Commissioner General, hey, your men are here.
So the element of Gambanogu is actually
it is
true and still
there.
exists.
Now, this is Sonko who began importing niginas and then some shoes and what? Who does he know? When Chirabo with that tummy comes dressed and I'm like, no, when I look at your shop, where you dodge tax of this amount. Sonko said no, he doesn't understand some of the things even I'm explaining. So what does Sonko have to do? Says,
Pay you
"No, come
off
on."
and you go.
He will pick something to give me. Then I'll go and I'll tell him because you're not paying IFRIS. You're not using IFRIS.
Well, gentlemen, this conversation definitely we cannot get to the bottom of this at this moment because it's still unveiling itself. We are still, the traders still promise to go ahead and strike. I'm hoping that they have something they're trying to achieve with these protests. Otherwise, you will close shop and you're the one who is losing out at the end of the day. But away from that, we do have other local stories, and that means that we'll be able to share those with you and later on share international stories and also check what is in the dailies. But for now, shareable with the local stories.
But we want to begin with the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, which has directed Minister Peter, no, which has directed the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health, Diana Atwine, to arrange a physical inspection tour for the Committee on Evaluation and Progress of Ruvowa Specialized Hospital Project. Officials appeared before the committee to address queries raised in the Auditor General's report for the financial year 2023-2024, where the ministry was criticized for causing a financial loss of over 200 billion shillings by issuing a certificate of milestone completion. Still moving on, a section of members of parliament are unsatisfied with the disparities in the figures of the budget estimate for the financial year 2024-2025. As Parliament embraces a tight deadline for the budget cycle, some legislators are confused on the figures to proceed with. Currently, the ministerial policy statement, budget estimates, and recent agenda have different figures at times describing as rush hour to process the budget. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, said the Budget Committee will harmonize the concerns accordingly. And still looking at local stories, Minister Badyomunsi has revealed that government is determined to continue rolling down the cost of smartphones and internet in order to deepen ICT penetration to the common person. Minister Badyomunsi said gone are the days when the average cost of a smartphone was at 1 million Uganda shillings, but revealed now it is possible to procure one at 150,000 shillings. This call was made during the launch of Blue Chip Technology operation in Uganda. And finally, from the local scene, devoted coffee farmers and nursery bed operators have camped at Entebbe in anticipation of their meeting with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. This follows delays of payment of their arrears amounting to 49 billion for over 2 financial years. According to the Managing Director, Uganda Coffee Development Authority, Emmanuel Yamulemie, the authority appreciates the past experiences by these farmers given their indebtedness and call upon Parliament to prioritize their arrears.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. That is it for our local news stories. Now, checking out what is happening internationally, Gaza's health ministry has said at least 63 Palestinians were killed and 45 injured in the last 24 hours after an Israeli attack on the enclave. Now, World Health Organization has said destruction in Khan Yunis and damage to the medical sector disproportionate to anything one can imagine after the Israeli army withdrawal. And then also USAID Chief Samantha Power has become the first U.S. official to publicly say famine is happening in northern Gaza after she said she agreed with the UN-backed assessment of hunger in the enclave. At least 33,545 Palestinians have been killed and 76,094 injured in Israeli attacks on Gaza, while in Israel, the death toll still remains the same at 1,139. And away from that, France's government presented a bill on Wednesday to allow adults with terminal cancer or other incurable illnesses to take lethal medication as public demands for legal options for aid in dying. Many French people have traveled to neighboring countries where medically assisted suicide is illegal. French President Emmanuel Macron has long promised such a bill, and to benefit from the newly proposed measure, patients would need to be over 18 and be French citizens or live in France, Health Minister Catherine said after a cabinet meeting. A team of medical professionals would need to confirm that the patient has a grave and incurable illness, is suffering from intolerable and untreatable pain, and is seeking lethal medication of their own free will. Those with severe psychiatric conditions and neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's disease won't be eligible. And coming back to Africa, the World Trade Organization in its trade outlook for 2024 projected that exports from Africa will increase at the fastest pace in 2024 by 5.3% when compared with other regions. The report noted that the continent's exports will exceed pre-pandemic levels, but imports will continue to limp as a result of higher energy and commodity prices. Between 2019 and 2023, the continent saw its imports decline by 5%, the worst in the world, meaning that increase in exports did not translate into higher consumption and income across the continent. The report reads, if current projections hold, Africa's exports will grow faster than those of any other region in 2024, up 5.3% from a low base since the continent's exports remain depressed after the COVID-19 pandemic. And lastly, speaking matters climate, the Biden administration yesterday awarded $830 million in grants to fund 80 projects aimed at toughening the nation's aging infrastructure against the harmful impacts of climate change. The money is expected to improve bridges, roads, ports, rails, transit, and other infrastructure across 37 states, Washington, D.C., and the Virgin Islands, particularly those battered by increasingly frequent extreme weather events brought on by the planet's warming. The funds come from the bipartisan infrastructure law passed in 2021 and add other funding already flowing to states for similar projects, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. It's the latest of many federal efforts to address the negative effects of human-caused climate change. President Joe Biden has earmarked more than $50 billion towards climate-related projects through the Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act. He has emphasized the importance of climate resilience and adaptation as he seeks a second term in office. And that does it for climate news and what is happening across different parts of the world. However, in the dailies today with Jerome Paul.
Now, the New Vision is highlighting how robbers target big businesses. Police exposes tricks used by the criminals whilst looting. Then telecom deal, ICT ministers not involved in fraud. Read about that. In the Beat magazine, Ugandan nominated for Emmy Awards. Which Ugandan? Read about him. Then Best Farmers competition has been launched. Pictorial of the launch at the front page of the New Vision. Then in the Harvest magazine, government held for high-value livestock farming as adulterous woman ordered to refund 10 million shillings to husband. Then in Matters Defense, Lieutenant General Elwelu hands over Deputy CDF office. That and more is with the New Vision. Now we look at the Daily Nation from Kenya, which is highlighting lessen tax burden as bishops urge state. The economy in Kenya, clergy calls for an end to the doctors' strike. 6 waiver on missionary work permits. The Daily Nation is highlighting. Then O.J. Simpson, former NFL star and actor, dies at 76. Then Life and Times of June Moy, read about her. Also in the press review today, The Voice magazine, Cancer in a Box, read about the health implications of some of the products that women use for their hair. Then no to change, Atwoli opposes bill seeking to set term limits for union chiefs. Then an interesting report, my co-wife cremated our husband without my consent, says one of the females in Kenya. Then Raila reinstate intern doctors' pay to end the strike. He warns the government. Now, lastly, from our press reviews, the Citizen newspaper from Tanzania, fresh hope as UK suspends global tariff on cut flowers. Also, from sea to summit and back to the sea. Then in the Rising Woman perspective, CK, treating people fairly, key to career advancement, she says. Then heavy rains bring misery and destruction, experts warn. As a top scientist has been sacked by JPM reinstated, also experts are warning that what government should do to curb tax fraud. That and more is with the Citizen newspaper and bringing us to the end of our press review this Friday.
Well, this Friday morning, if you are a pet lover, today we are going to be hosting a doctor, if I may say, and trainer, but this is specifically for dogs. If you're someone that loves to keep dogs around, loves to have them trained, and you need to know more about how to take care of them and all that detail, stay tuned because we'll be having the doctor with us this morning to have that kind of conversation. But for now, let's get into the song of the day, and that is American Love by King Madi. And it's time for you to wind down. It is time for you to lessen on the stress that you have. It is time for you to get into the weekend mode. And that is what we do on Friday, making sure we're actually into the weekend. Welcome aboard. This is Good Morning Uganda Friday special. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda. And of course, I am riding this morning with Chirawa Robert Nyonyintono, call him Uncle Bob for Friday, and John Paul Sonko, call him JP Live for Friday, I repeat. And that is how we'll be moving this very morning, making sure we keep you updated, but in the most interesting way we can on a Friday. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, our dear viewer. Friday is here, and so are we. And well, you see, this entire week has been filled up with lots of enjoyments, by the way. Besides the Eid al-Fitr celebrations that happened on Wednesday, you do realize that for the third consecutive week, I think it is it the second consecutive week where we are only having 4 days of of working, especially for those who are in the corporate space.
Yes,
some of them have actually been working 4 days a week.
It is the second week.
Yeah, so you get to realize that there was a time I saw some people actually saying kudos to President Yoweri Museveni for the fact that they've been working for only 4 days for 2 consecutive weeks. And well, for people who love, to have some leisure time, many of them are really happy about how these 2 weeks have actually been.
But then here again, we are. Sonko, tell me yesterday did not feel like Monday.
It did. It really felt like Monday. And I got a shocker on Wednesday, by the way, because I almost passed where I'm supposed to. I almost passed my home because I think it was too much food. I had forgotten that I actually stay somewhere else. And unfortunately, I can't even explain what really happened. I think I'll explain this while I'm off air. Because it was an experience I would love to remind people. I don't know why Chirabo is shocked, but let me tell you, it was a shocking experience for me. But here we are.
I would like to know how your week has been. What story stood out for you, except with yesterday's new development of the request to have maybe a salon in Parliament?
Well, what stood out for me really, still in Parliament, in 2027, Uganda is going to be hosting the African Cup of Nations together with Tanzania and Kenya. The Pamoja bid that was accepted by CAF, which is the Confederation of African Football. So when you look at it from
one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for?
Was brought to you by
just take a polite loan of 200k to stock my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The back commander, not the back teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
107.3 Kampala, 96.9 Mbale, 95.7 Jinja, 98.6 Soroti. You are all covered.
UBC Butego. UBC Butego. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
once again, this is a Friday special on the Good Morning Uganda show. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you are having a lovely, lovely Friday morning. If you're just joining us, you are right on time. We are discussing matters of national importance, and on this very note, it is not a very interesting topic to discuss this morning, but I'm hoping that by the time we are done with this discussion, we'll have some solutions. If you're a parent, or if you are someone that is planning to be a parent, like Sonko and I, at a particular point of our lives, but also if you are, I think this goes back down to the communities and society. Yesterday, there was a video that was making rounds on social media of a house help beating and stepping on a child. Please do not, no, it's a baby, literally. Please do note that this is not the first time we've had these cases, and it's not the first time we've seen videos. We've seen even extreme cases where the child gets damaged, say on the ribs, they get broken, some get burnt. A lot has been seen, and this has happened over the years. And the question this morning we have is, how do we safeguard our kids, or how do we safeguard children under the children we leave at the hands of the house help? You have to wake up in the morning and go to work to fend for the family, to fend for that child. But is it going to make sense if you come back to a child who is probably going to have damage for the rest of their lives because the person you left them with did not take good care of them? So how do we ensure that these children are well taken care of? The video was making rounds. If you had a chance to look at it, I don't know if you'd complete. Personally, I have struggled to watch and complete, and I'm thinking to myself, how does someone be inhuman to that point? The child is helpless, and that goes to bring questions like, are they stable mentally? Are they okay emotionally? Because that shows anger issues, that shows a lot of unresolved issues that this person needs to deal with. But first, how do we deal with that? How do we ensure our children are safe as we head out this very morning to go to work? With me on set is one parent. There's one parent, Robert, Uncle Bob, and the soon-to-be parents, or soon-to-be parents, Sonko. And so this morning I'd love to start with the parent in the house and get to find out how do we safeguard our children as we get out. I mean, you get here at 5 in the morning, Robert. You don't know what happens between 5 and maybe 5 when you return home. We don't know what happens in that house. You know, if the house help is treating your child right, how do you ensure that when you go back, you're going back to your child in one piece?
First, I must say housemates do a great job, but they are unnecessary evil.
Right.
Unnecessary evil that if there were ways of avoiding them, surely we would avoid them. But in this day and age, you just can't avoid them. Like you said, you're leaving home at about 4:30. At 6, madam, she's also leaving for her work. Now, you have this child, you can't take to your workplace, because even when members of parliament have this special room where breastfeeding mothers can, I've not seen members of parliament carry their babies there, or their children there. Maybe those at Wandegea Market have some room where they can breastfeed, and
most of the members of parliament also, their kids are old, but another conversation.
That is also another issue, by the way. But you find that most of us, you can't carry this child. So the safe home is home, the safe place is home, and with a maid. Now, I said they do good work. I not appreciate all maids that are even watching us right now. And you're doing a good job. But there are also those that are becoming devils in people's homes and a problem. First, even before you go to the maid, let's look at us personally, the wife, the husband, the people that employ these maids. How do we treat? What do we go for? In most of the clips I've seen, we have a problem that we are going for young kids to leave them in the hands of fellow kids.
Right.
14, and people will, 16. People in Uganda will tell you the best age for a maid. Help me, madam. What is the best age for?
They will tell you 16. I don't agree, but they will tell you 16.
15, 16, 17.
18 max, yes.
18 max. Above that, They may
Oyo
take
mukulu
over
ajja
my
kuntawanya.
ajja kuntawanya, they may take over my husband. There's so much. So now, these infants disturb a lot. I want to tell you, you can be a parent and you get back home.
Even you yourself, you'll be disturbed.
Even
by
you
your own
yourself,
child, yes.
you're on your laptop, you're doing this, your producer is calling for this, she's, someone is shouting here, the other one goes on top of the table accidentally, the other one falls.
It's almost throwing down the TV.
Yeah, the other one. So even you, the parent, this age is very disturbing.
Right.
Now, you're leaving a child to take care of a baby. But also, her role is not only to look after this baby. She has to cook, she has to wash clothes, she has to keep the home clean. When you come back and these are not in order, it is disaster. You throw all thoughts of verbal artillery at her.
Right.
Some even beat them.
Yes, that's true.
As if that is not enough. Even the payment. You know, we don't have a minimum wage in Uganda. But if you asked people, on average, how much do you pay your maid? A month. The maid's working for 20,000.
No.
I'm telling you, in this country, our viewers can attest to that. The maid's working for 50,000 a month. 50,000. Those that are fairly blessed are getting, excuse me, 100,000. Actually, a maid who is earning 100,000 a month.
That one is really earning well.
That
when
one
they
is
tell
really
their
earning
friends,
well.
yes.
When they tell their friends. Now, when it comes to even how you, the parents, treat this little girl, she's a child, you buy ice cream for your children. Remember, sometimes you send for this child from the village. She's anxious. What is ice cream? She also wants. You buy pizzas, you buy kebabs, you buy all these things for your children, but you have another child. Sometimes even when you have parties, she sits in another corner.
You exclude her.
You exclude her. So you segregate at almost everything. But funny, she's the one you want to leave your child with. So the little girl is under psychological torture, but also with so much burden that she can't handle. Every day she wakes up, she's waking up to hell. But you're leaving her with your children. She wakes up at 5. You, the people who are going to work, imagine, the lady gave instructions. Daddy does, you have to wake up, put in his flask, in his food, whatever. She's still in bed sleeping. So there's so much work for this girl. And on addition, she has to take care of the children. So already that is a problem on the side of us who have these girls. But also, where do we train housemaids in Uganda? What training
Do they go through?
do they go through? Simply saying, get for me an underprivileged child in the village. The dad died, the mother, she's an orphan, she's
has
living
failed to
with-
raise school
she has failed to raise school fees. Come to Kampala and work as a housemaid. No experience. She ends up putting certain things in the microwave that are not supposed to be there.
Oh.
Putting this in bread, in whatever.
You just reminded me of a friend of mine. I was talking to her some time back, and this girl had just come from the eastern region. And when they told her to soak the baby's clothes, she soaked them using mouthwash. Recently, they brought another one, and she, you know the toilet bowl. That's why she soaked the overalls of the child. She didn't know what they were. The other one also got bread and put it in the freezer. They don't know these things.
Yes, and for you, you expect, and when she comes in your house, you sit her there, welcome, you've come to, these are the don'ts. Don't go closer to my husband. Don't enter my bedroom.
Don't dress like this.
Don't dress like this. My children must eat on time. Don't beat my children. Don't do this. But you're not taking her through orientation. Yet even MPs are taken through orientation. And it's real training. Yet at our workplaces, we are taken through orientation. She's just coming to a hostile environment, coming from a place where the world has not been fair to her. And now here you come. And sometimes, even where she's coming, they're expecting you to take money. Now, finally, this is the worst thing that happens, Chantal, and my brother here. You're getting this housemaid and you're telling her your first salary money is the transport money
It's the refund, yes.
Heaven's sake. How do you be this mean? I spent 100,000 getting you, you know, so the first month you're working, you're paying back my transport. And sometimes she may not even have come from far as the person who brought her. She may just be picked from around within. And then the person says, I got this person from Chigezi.
True. But you see, the issue to do with maids, I think at times it also comes with luck. I don't know if it's the better word to use. Because we've seen people who have been successful with their nannies or the maids they've had since their children were 3 till the time of graduation, and this person has grown with the family. And then we've seen people who have not had a good chance at a maid at all, whereby every other month
there's a new one.
There's a new one. And you know, Chirawa, you did mention on the issue, you mentioned something to do with the training. It's quite unfortunate that we cannot have that kind of training, or sort of training for the maids here, because this is a sort of a casual work when you look at the maids. And the amount of money that they earn, clearly, if you go through school and let's say training, then the charges will be high. That is why you see for the maids that go away from Uganda and go, let's say, in the Middle East, those who earn around 800 to 1 million. But here, you find a maid earning 50,000, 100, the highest is around 150,000. Or there are actually people today who are giving them 200. Those are very few families, by the way.
Very.
You get to realize that even a family that is financially stable or financially sounding will also pay this maid close to 100 or 150,000. Now, I'm going to give my views on both ends. One, I'll start from the employer's side. There is some sort of unfairness with how the maids are treated at times. You're paying this maid, let's say, an 18-year-old, 17, 16. And the reason as to why many of these people actually go for the young ones, they're easy to manipulate. You can easily give them very small money or no money at all, and they will actually accept to go through with you. There are some people who actually will say, I'm giving you clothes, I'm giving you, you know, your mother
Shelter,
sent me,
food,
exactly.
everything.
Your mother sent you to town because you people don't have money, so you're going to only do this and this. As I give you shelter, I give you food, I give you clothing. Now, when you look at some of the working conditions for some of the maids, it becomes quite a very sad place for them to be or to work from. Believe it or not, Chirabo, if you're given a job in a company whereby the working conditions are not fair enough for you, at times you may not lose the love for the job, but how you behave at your workspace clearly reflects how you're being treated by your bosses or your immediate supervisors. Now, when you look at the money they earn, then there is an element of food. There are some houses or there are some households where maids are not even supposed to sit close to the children. That a maid makes the food, you're not allowed to sit on the dining table, you're supposed to sit in the kitchen area. And then some are even quite unfair, where a maid is not even allowed to use, let's say,
certain cutlery.
Certain cutlery.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if the children are using, you know, glass cutlery, for you using plastic. As a maid. So when you look at it, there's an element of you're trying to put a line between the maid and, because at times familiarity breeds contempt. You get to realize that many families are scared of bringing closer these maids, because at times we've also seen results whereby if you treat a maid as your own, at times things do not go well as planned. But away from how these maids are treated, when you look at how they're treated, at times that is why they throw the frustration on a child. You've left her with the child, you've gone to work, and then because of the frustration and anger she has towards your treatment, or because of your treatment towards her, she decides to, you know, beat up this child. Any sort of anger issues, she will finish all the anger on your child. And this goes back to how you've been treating her. But now, when we go back to the maids themselves, at times, you know, where I started with the word luck, At times you will bring a maid deep from the village thinking that maybe if you bring them to town, they will be reserved. But then after a period of 1 month, when they've got used to how the city operates, many of them become uncontrollable.
There's a border guy who is
exactly.
disorganizing.
There's a border guy, or there is a neighbor somewhere who is disorganizing. And in most cases, some of the maids are really difficult to deal with, especially when they get access to a smartphone. And I'm giving this as an example because I've actually seen people who have experienced the changes of their maids. A maid who came with, let's say, the button phones, getting a smartphone, they lose their focus. We've seen TikToks lately where a maid is actually just going on TikTok to create content instead of working. So at times you realize that the maids also make it really difficult for someone, to kind of treat them like their own. Or at times you will treat a maid like a child or like a sister to the family, and then they start disrespecting.
They fail to know their boundaries.
Exactly, and the disrespect means that you're no longer going to control this person. First of all, they will respond to you anyhowly. They will actually, someone who used to talk to you or to greet you in the morning will now try to look at you as a competition in your own house. So I think that is why even some women are actually scared to bring in, maids that are way older, because they know it's like you're having a co-wife in your own home. So it becomes really difficult. But the maid issue, I think supervision is really important. Really important from the get-go. And how you deal with even the people who give you these maids. Because we've actually seen someone will send you a maid from, let's say, Kamuli, sends you a maid from Kamuli district to come and work in Kampala. And this person is actually maybe the mother to this child, or even a broker. A maid works for you for only a month, then he calls someone else. So it's more like a transfer. So a maid is just here with you for a month, then after 1 month, she leaves, she goes to another home. So it's like the other person is using it as
some of them just come back from work and she's disappeared.
Especially those who gain a certain payment when they get you and you make, they use that as a way of getting money from you. You can be part of the conversation. The number is 0709602592. You'll be able to send us your message. Please do not call. I saw some calls coming. So please do not call. Send us a message. Let us know what you think. How do we safeguard our children? It's those that we leave at home with the house help. How do we ensure that they are well taken care of? Now, I was checking out some statistics, and I was looking at the comparison between what we call child domestic workers and looking at the boys versus the girls. In the central region, you have about 66,303, and that is girls. And then you have 41,739 boys. These are child domestic workers. Then in the eastern region, you have 97,831. Those are girls. And then you have 96,280. Those are boys. In the northern region, you have 51,948 boys and 87,666 girls. In the western, you have 25,919 boys and 31,842 girls. Now, as you can see, the girls or the feminine, the female child domestic workers are more than the male child domestic workers, and that now takes us to what the biggest number of cases we have are cases with the domestic workers who are female. They're the ones we have seen on video beating the children. They are the ones we have seen, stepping on the children. Very disturbing scenes to watch, by the way. Now that we have seen that, one, we as parents or as a community, we have a role to play when it comes to ensuring that our children are safe, starting with making sure that these kids or these maids that we bring in, or these house helps that we give in, or the house managers, depending on what you call them, making sure that we treat them well. Then Songo comes to the idea of sometimes when you treat them well, they don't know their boundaries and don't know what needs to be done. They don't know where to stop, and it could breed familiarity. So now that we have seen all those things, how do we go forward from here? How do we make sure that when you are at work, your heart is in one place? You don't have to imagine that girl called Joy in the house stepping on your child. You don't have to imagine someone, give them any name. You don't have to imagine them beating up your child, burning them, and you come back and they're like, no, they poured water on themselves accidentally. Because sometimes that's what they will tell you. But I left the flat iron, and then I went to go check on the food, and I found when they had touched it. But they're the ones who probably did it. So how do you make sure that these children are safe? That's the part where we need now to have the conversation on going forward. How do we avoid these scenarios?
Well, we may not totally eliminate them. But first, I stand for good treatment of these people. You know, human beings love, care, compassion, respect. We usually give back the same. When you show these girls love, when you show them that they are part of family, of course you don't have to go that extra, but bring them, you know. How many homes have maids and they can celebrate their birthday? No, let's be very honest, fellow Ugandans. Every
Some
year.
don't even know when they were born.
No, even those that know. Every year, you're celebrating. You have a maid who is 14, who is 13, who is 15. You have a daughter who is 10 years. Every year you're celebrating their birthday. You know, you're inviting friends. How many of us celebrate these maids' birthdays? Then when you say, if you show them that very love, but sometimes where also this comes, that they overstep their boundaries, is sometimes even the responsibilities you're giving them. She has access to your bedroom. She can even make the bed because you're in a hurry. Sometimes even what you give her to wash, you know, your underwears, your husbands, you've already, you know, sometimes respect is earned because of the things you do. So sometimes you create that scenario, you know. Sometimes you, the husbands, you have to know what are my limits, you know, when dealing with this maid. Care, but then when you reach a point, you come back because you're hugging. No. So I stand for good treatment too. These days, technology, and that's what I've used so much. Cameras, also to some extent. They may not totally, because you can monitor just at your phone. With your phone wherever you are, you know, and at least some areas you can monitor. Now we have even those where I can speak on my phone and say, Jocelyn, what you're doing is wrong. I'm seeing you. From wherever I am, and the camera in my house will speak that to her. So she gets to know that wherever I am, I'm being watched. There's someone watching over me. But also, you can have, you know, it's very bad when you program your schedule that someone can master it. Actually, even when we go in areas of criminality, and we see most of these who have been shot, these people master their plan. That Joe and Kagezi, every day after work, parks here to buy fruits.
Right.
So, also adjust. Just go home unexpected. Enter in any way. Create a way that whatever I'm doing, someone at some point can get to know me. We are in fenced houses, but also that neighborhood, you know, responsibility. Now you can tell them, please check on, you know, please, and you also do the same. So good treatment, being responsible, show her that you also want to know what she's going through. When you go back, how have you been? Has so and so, I'll beat her. Ask how was the day gone, you know? But really, isn't this work too much for you? You know, those small things mean so very much to these young girls. You know what it will mean to celebrate her birthday? Give her birthday gift. Christmas, on Boxing Day, there's so much for everybody. She has nothing. Kids are unwrapping, you know, on Boxing Day. She has nothing to give. These may look small things. You know, one thing I've mastered with human beings, it's not the big things that we do,
Right.
but those small things that we do are what create a very big difference in people's lives. Checking on her, just calling, saying, oh, you know, I left early. You know, for the woman, because the husbands also, you must have limits. To have good relationship at home, have limits. But madam, but then you know, you don't call him, has so and so eaten, because every call she gets, either you're barking, you're shouting, or it's about your children.
You've been frustrated at work and you're literally pouring with your frustration on,
you know,
person.
you may not even be home. You may bring the boys, you know. Also be very humane, and you'll get the reciprocal of that.
Right. Before we get to hear from you, Sonko, one more time to you, our dear viewer, you can let us know what you think. The WhatsApp number is 0709-602592, and you can send us a WhatsApp message or a direct message. We are looking forward to hearing from you, though I do have some comments already coming in. But Mwine Roni says, the issue of maids treating kids in such a way has always been a serious issue here in our households. But I think it depends on how we treat them sometimes. As you have said, some of us don't treat them in a good way, and in return, they end up doing such. That is Bamwine Roni. And another comment here says, good morning, Chantal, Robert, and JP. The biggest mess comes up after parents thinking that any other person can love and treat their children the way they do. It's next to impossible. Once you choose to leave your child to any person, be it your mother, sister, aunt, guardian, or any other person who is not their biological mother or father, at some moment expect a different care which may not be pleasant to you. I think it's better we go back to planning before we give birth, because it comes with availability, provision, and care as well. Put yourself on a weighing scale. Put yourself on a weighing scale, and I mean, can your schedule favor you to get time for your children as a mother or father? If no, then hold it on to avoid such incidents. Lastly, the maids themselves need to be examined before they are fully employed. Maybe to know their temper, how they deal with it, whether they have some psychological problems, etc. And this must be done before they are fully employed. Cricket Derek Gargamel from Makindi Edwafo. He holds a very valid point in my own
Mental
opinion. Yes, it may not be directly a mental test, but I believe we need to check these people. Do they have anger issues?
Yeah,
because much as, yes, someone does not treat you well, there is where, you know, planting a very good seed.
A quick one. Would you take your maid for HIV testing? Many families now, the moment she comes,
yes,
they take her for HIV.
I think it should be done.
I don't know.
It should be done. It should be done. We have seen cases.
No, you know, you're setting up preventive measures just in case of anything.
Yes,
that
no,
can
we have
arise.
seen cases where a house help actually made the baby sick. You heard about that
just
case.
By cutting,
yes,
you know, and sharing the blood.
You heard about that case. Yes, this house help infected the baby, and now you're wondering if you had checked and figured that this person may be sick, then you would probably either not employ them, or you would assess if they are in the right state of mind to be employed. It's just that when you say the right state of mind, someone starts to think they are mad. No, but listen, if we are talking about mental health, it doesn't affect only people in the corporate world. No, even the last person down there who does not know the definition of mental health, who does not know what they're suffering from, has issues that could lead to mental health. That is why I still agree with Derek Gargamel that we should have some of these checks done. How does this person behave when they're angry? What kind of temper do they have? When you assess those things, you will know, then you let them go. So you had something to say.
Mine goes back to the house chores these maids do. You're giving them a lot of work. Yes, I know this is a house help or a housemaid and everything. They're supposed to be doing all of this. But if you go to some of the households, you do realize that at times every other day, there's a huge chunk of things on a to-do list per day, every day. And at times it is something that most of the mothers have failed to actually balance. That there are certain duties that you can as well hop in and help this maid.
Right.
It is not supposed to be her duty to do everything for you. You do realize that a parent who has, let's say, babies at home, after working, the parent returns, this person does not even mind about checking on the children. Again, it goes back to the maid. So it's like you're leaving even your personal obligations and your personal roles to this maid. So in simple terms, you're overworking this person. Because let's face it, we're not paying these maids a lot of money.
And I love that.
You're not paying them a lot of money to put all of this labor onto them. In the morning, you expect this person to wash clothes every other day. Now, from washing clothes, they are going to cook. From cooking, you want them to mop. Everything. Then there are actually others who will actually say, go and lay my bed. You look at all of this.
You see, you're in the house, but
exactly.
she has to wake up and prepare your kids.
And yet you're in the house.
And you just...
So you do realize most of these things, and with time, the work becomes an overload. And the more it becomes an overload, the body reacts differently. At times, you never know that someone is actually burning out.
Fatigued, yes.
And when the maid is, is burning out, they will not tell you because maybe they fear you might either.
Do they even know that they are burning out?
Exactly. So at times, they will burn out, and for you, you're compiling all this chunk of work on the table for this maid to do. All of this every other day. Now, the more they burn out, they start responding. And at times when someone is tired of something, at times they respond. It's more like a default setting. Someone will just blast you at the end of the day. And it's not because they've wanted to, but because they've been keeping something deep in their minds.
It's an outburst.
It's an outburst on their side. And then for you as a parent, or let's say the boss, you'll come out and say the maid is disrespectful. But well, you've created that disrespect over the months or the days she has been with you. You've been making her get tired of what she's doing. So I think how we treat them and how we balance, because if you're home and there is food, you can cook the food as the maid is doing other things. Because if you expect her to get done with washing clothes, then she comes and cooks for you simply because you're paying her. I mean, even if it was you and you're in in your workspace and your supervisor is right there next to you and they can do something and they still wait for you to finish your duties and do it for them, you will also get burnt out and you'll feel.
I mean, we leave
exactly.
officers saying, these people overwork me.
Exactly.
But then we don't go back to look at the people in our homes and how they are working. I do have comments still. One, Debo Kennedy says, good morning, UBC. The only way to safeguard our children with the maids is installing cameras, and the maid, when they treat well, they are always doing the right thing, although they can't familiar. So literally what Kennedy is saying, when you treat them well, you have to treat them well. However, sometimes when you treat them well, they start, being familiar with you. And I believe those are things that can also be controlled. You can let someone know why they should be stopping.
You create an environment for them to familiar you.
That is very true, because
I've seen homes
even
where
yourself,
I've gone
you don't have limits.
Yeah, where I've gone to, and I'm a man by the conduct of fellow men with their maids. You're like, I think very soon trouble is going to happen here. The conduct, our ladies in the bedroom and calling upon, familiarity also comes with how you open up to someone. You must have some limits, of certain things. That talk, what you speak when she's around, So this issue of when you treat them well, they're familiar, I think is wrong. It is
sometimes, to be honest, Cherabo, yes, we will contribute to it, but other times it will be just someone who does not know their boundaries. And even when you let them know, they will keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes. Still onto the comments, Godfrey Fitz says, good morning, UBC team. In most cases, we bring maids and we forget that these maids too need leisure time. We tend to keep them tight in control 24/7, and this causes a lot of change in their attitude while staying with us. Remember, in most cases, these maids are either at adolescent stages or past, so let's treat them equally. Then also someone here says,
for conjugal rights.
this is in Subuga. Subuga says, thanks for the show. This is Yasin in Subuga, Kagoma, Wakiso district. Safety of kids can be ensured in hands of housemates through government put up workers' policies like minimum wage, fair treatment for the maids, use of technology to monitor home happenings, and then avoiding segregation. Very well said, Mr. Nsubuga. Then okay, this one did not leave a name. Says, good morning to you all. Thanks for this subject. Do not expect these maids to give love, that is in brackets, agape love, which they have not received. Treat them as human beings. Also, create an environment that brings harmony. Also, as long as he, she is still with you, work towards changing their lives to do better. Oh, this is David Chiragu. Now, David says something that I think is very important. Have you, I don't know about you two gentlemen, but have you ever worked in a place and the only reason that the pay is good, but you feel like you have no value you are getting from that place? As an individual, the place is not adding anything to you. Much as we go there to work, there has to be some value being added onto you. And this is what he's saying. Make their lives better. If they want to construct a house, for example, in their village, say I'm contributing this much for you.
Hey.
Yeah?
You know why I'm not accepting?
Okay.
I have my reasons. You know, at times it depends. But you're right. On the other hand, I think the house is going way overboard. But for those who are financially stable and they can help, but I think that goes back to how long have you been with this person? You see, if you've been with this maid for close to 20 years, there's going to be a time she has to leave. And if she's trying to construct a house, she has her savings, definitely. And if you have the financials, you can help them. But why I don't want us to drive that conversation there, I don't want maids to also have that level of entitlement.
No.
That if I am working for this person,
they have to.
They have to.
No,
that
we are not
if
saying...
I'm working for my boss, I have to have my own bedroom. I have to, you know all these things. At times, you know, most of the maids have fallen out with their own bosses because of the level of entitlement. Because she expects...
even a corporate, someone employed in the corporate world can wake up in the morning and they have a certain level of entitlement they are not supposed to.
True.
So what am I saying? How are you running your home? It goes back down to that. Now, the part of adding value to this person, it may not be constructing a house, but add value to this person. Let this person wake up in the morning and say, when I worked for Sonko,
there are actually some people who even take them back to school.
What I was telling you, I've seen many people, including myself, taking these for tailoring. You know, even buying a sewing machine for this young girl. At least, sure, she has gotten a skill that by the time she leaves, she can start something else. And actually telling her that you're here fine, but for a particular time, life has to continue. But sometimes you are so selfish. I'm sorry to use this word. Very many people using housemates today are so selfish. Why I'm very soft on the side of housemates? Because I once worked for an organization called Platform for Labor Action. It was looking more at these young girls and all that. But the stories of these young girls were very annoying and shocking. You know, you're a parent also. This is not your child, fine. But would you like her to work for you for the next 20 years for sure? Or would you want her to work for you for a particular time, then continue with life, like you said? And so when I worked in that home, today I'm doing good in textile, you know? Because they invested in me. Where I grew up, we have maids that raised us. And today, we meet them, and all they can tell you is, I am what I am because I worked for your family. I worked for Presta. And it creates joy. It creates joy and self-satisfaction that you added value to someone. But there are maids you will meet and they will tell you, all the problems I have today are because that day I stepped foot in that house. And also important, I think it's time we change our perception. You know, we've already, so many people today have a negative perception towards maids. The moment she steps in that house, like an enemy has come in, you know, you know, no matter how good you do, housemates would never. What if you change your mindset and say, well, this is a new family member. She's going to be here. In your mind, you know, maybe for the next 5 years, but we want to create a difference in her life. Because caring for someone is not a must that they will pay back equally. But at least there's satisfaction that for you did your best.
Fulfillment, yes. Cherabo, just to get into more of the comments. Sarah says, good morning, this is Sarah from Entebbe. I have never had a house help, but all I see from my neighborhood is fire. Maids eating after everyone is done and eating from the balcony, giving maids to do everything in the house. Seriously, these are house helps. And I think Sarah is concerned that these maids are not treated right. The same thing we've been discussing. Obed from Kakoa Mbarara says, thanks for the show and a very good morning. If we want to ensure safety of our children in the hands of housemaids, we need to consider the following. They are also human beings. They learn, they err, they get exhausted. They have needs and a life, thus they deserve to be loved, cared for, and considered in decision-making processes in regards to their duties and responsibilities. They are not complete. They need assistance and a little bit of supervision. He has literally said it very well and closed it properly. This is Achan Rebecca from Fort Portal. These maids need to be given a motivation and taken as family members. From what I have seen from literally all the comments that are coming in, we all seem to agree that the way maids are treated is not the right way they're supposed to be treated, and we can do better. Also, those were WhatsApp messages, but also on the direct messages. Good morning, UBC. There should be total respect, love, and harmony between the boss and the maids. This ensures safety and peace in the family. I remain Nsamba Paul from Chireka. Thank you, Nsamba Paul, for your view. Now, gentlemen, we've agreed that at the end of the day, it's how these people are treated. But then again, we would have the conversation of what if you treated them well and they went ahead and either way, maybe battered your child or did anything weird that you did not expect them to do. Now, that's the part where I think we need to agree. But you need to have an assessment when it comes to the emotional and mental health. So
let me just ask you
I think...
I just want to ask Chantal something, just what she has said.
Okay.
Have you ever loved someone?
Yep. Yes.
Have they ever disappointed you?
Yes.
Because loving someone is not a must.
It's not a guarantee that they should love me the same way.
But in case they don't, at least be happy that you once fell in love and did love.
Yes.
So I think that answers the issue of the maids.
Okay, but the mental checkup is very critical or very important from the get-go. That you've brought in this maid, the chances are at times we never get to understand which people are we dealing with. Do you know their family background? Do you know why, this child has actually, decided to come to, let's say, Kampala or to town or wherever you are to start doing this sort of job? Or have you also asked yourself, why is the mother of this child ready to give this child the platform to go and work? All those questions. Do not only think about how much am I going to pay, because at times you realize some maids will come home today on a Friday and they start working immediately. After they've, at times even they don't know how much they're going to earn. It is between the broker who has brought that maid to the house owners and everything. So you sitting down with the maid is also important. Get to know them on day one. Try to ask a few questions about what, I know you share the do's and the don'ts, but then also, have you got the chance to listen to their story as well? Why are they in this place? Then get to understand how you can chip in and help. Then also, there are some maids who can't do certain kind of work. But because they're going to be paid and they're maids, they will never tell their bosses. So you need to also get into that health bit of it. I like the fact that you shared that it is important for house owners to actually take their maids for, let's say, HIV testing and all of that. But then they should as well do other tests.
Now some STDs,
You know,
because
Yes.
sometimes
Exactly.
you may use what you're using.
Exactly.
And then you contract certain.
So even other, you know,
Medical,
the, you
I
know,
think it's better called
the
medical.
mental checkup is very important, because with the generation we are in today, even you, the house owner, may have mental issues. So you really need to know how are you dealing
And then
with
maybe
your maid.
that's why you're treating the maid the
Exactly.
way you're treating them. Yes.
So you need to also check and see how stable is this kind of person mentally. Are they able, you know, to do certain house chores or not? So these are some of the questions you need to ask, so that by the time there are changes in behavior, you've already established it from the get-go. So you need to have medicine clearly at the start, so that once certain things start going astray, you know how to deal with them, either to fire or to be patient with this maid.
Right, the conversation is centered on how we can safeguard our children at the hands of house helps. If you're waking up in the morning and leaving your child with someone, how do you ensure that when you come back, you're finding your child
But
in
also,
one
Chantal,
piece?
just a minute. Also, I think house owners need to tell their children how to behave around maids. There are some houses where children do not respect their maids at all, simply because she's just a maid, and a child is
from how you're
you know,
treating them
exactly.
yourself.
So once the child is actually seeing the mother treating the maid that way, or the father, they are going to pick up from there. They will not give respect to this maid, whether the maid is way older. They know they won't give respect. And we've seen scenarios where the maid is actually beating up the child simply because the child is disrespectful in a way. But because you do not want your child to be touched by anyone, you feel like it's a right for the child to disrespect your maid. So I think we need to also create that kind of professional relationship whereby a child knows their stopping point when it comes to addressing these maids. And creating that respect is also very important.
Me, I would first of all tell people you need to do a background check. Some of these maids behave like that because they know that even if I do this thing and I disappear, there's nowhere you're going to be getting me. Today there is a tendency, I don't know the right word to use, that Chantal, you have a maid at your home. Now your neighbor has a friend at work who is looking for a housemaid.
Yes.
Now this is what you do. You sweet talk this housemaid that I'm taking you somewhere.
They're going to pay
They're
you
going to
better.
pay you better and all that. So you pack, I find you maybe at the roundabout or something. People are doing queer things. Then when you return home, your maid is not there. But the neighbor has gotten your maid another home. Now the chain continues, you get it. Now what happens when this maid mistreats your child or steals property and moves? Because I know of a family where they had disagreed with the maid and said pack and go, but she packed a few things. Now when they were looking for this girl, they asked the person, where did you get this girl? Said, I also stole from the neighbor, and it will spoil our relationship. I can't go and ask her, where did you get your maid? Because she will know I'm the one
That took the maid.
that took the maid. Background check is very important. We've seen houses where people have woken up and it's the housemaid who has connived with thieves. They're using this girl, wherever she goes, they steal.
Yes.
Background check is very important, and then treatment of this person. But please, let's also be mindful of age. Some homes have housemaids
In the parting shots.
that you feel to tell the husband lie, the wife lie. You can't leave your children in the hands of a child. Whelp them seriously. This saying of 13, 14, 15, I think it's, at least let our maid be above 18, though also not that very old, I must say.
Thank you, Chirabo. Sonko, what would be your parting shot?
Well, my parting shot will be, let's treat these maids with a lot of care, and a lot of attention needs to be given to how we treat them. Because if you have children with you and you have maids with you, at least there should be an 80% treatment equivalent. That if at all this is the maid that is making the food, think about it that if at all you don't want them to sit close to your children, what if one day they chose to poison the food, God forbid? So think about it. Think about the idea that one day you're not going to be at home for a period of 1 to 2 weeks, let's say, and you're going to leave your children with this maid. If you're not treating them well, then who is going to? You know, you've mentioned that no one is going to treat your child as much as you, the father or the mother, and that is true. Even your mother, who is the grandmother or grandfather to this child, will not treat them as much as you, the parent. So the chances are your maid will also have a limit on how good
they can go.
or how far they can go while treating your child or while living with your child. So how you try to create that balance, though I want to believe you should also put a limit to the professionalism that, you know, this is what you're supposed to do. If I am to joke, well, obviously you have to create some conversations with your maid. There has to be sometimes you crack jokes here and there, talk about real life issues, which is important to, you know, to create rapport with your maid and, you know, build that relationship that is strong. However much we call for the limits, but be fair enough while treating them. So that at times, if you're to blame them for mistreating your children, it is because you've treated them with a lot of grace and kindness. Just like the example Cherabo used, that if you're in love with someone, it is not, you know, mandate for them to love you back.
Yep.
But you just enjoy the right that you love them and you showed that love to them. So the same applies to the house owners. Exercise grace, exercise kindness, you know, show love to your maid, treat them with respect, and then wait to see, because at times energy is only reciprocated if at all you're giving out good vibes, or let's say good energy and good treatment. So mine is how you treat them will one day reflect on how they react or how they treat your children.
Okay, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, we did request we did request that if someone could send in a video of what their opinion is, and we do have a video that is going to be playing on your screen of an opinion of someone who deals with children, looking after children. It's a foundation, Zamani Foundation, and let's get a look. Let's take a look at the video and what he has to say.
Circulating on social media is very sad, and it is something that we need to talk about. Now, as parents, the parents' role in this situation is paramount. They are the primary caregivers responsible for ensuring safety and well-being of the child. So it is very crucial for parents to exercise due diligence when hiring caregivers for their children, including conducting thorough background checks and supervising, you know, what is going on. Now, such incidents are very sad because they leave behind lasting psychological traumas to the child, and they have long-term effects because this kind of abuse is not good. And as parents, we need to monitor how the kids behave, how our children behave, because with that you can easily identify whether we have any physical bruises.
Is his opinion, and I do agree that this kind of treatment towards the children needs to stop. I am going to end with a repeat of a particular comment. If we want to ensure safety of our children in the hands of housemaids, we need to consider that they are also human beings. They learn, they err, they get exhausted. They have needs and a life, thus they deserve to be loved, cared for, and considered in decision-making processes in regards to their duties and responsibilities. They are not complete. They need assistance and a little bit of supervision. That was from Obed from Kakobambara, and that will lead us to the closure of this conversation. Whatever you take home today, make sure before you castigate the house help, you first check yourself. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources, such as inspirational profiles.
Having disability is not inability.
Every Friday, 9 p.m., it's one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for?
Was brought to you by
Just a corporate loan of 200k to stock my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
107.3 Kampala, 96.9 Mbale, 95.7 Jinja, 98.6 Soroti. You are all covered.
UBC Mutego. UBC Mutego.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Still watching Friday special on UBC television. My name is Chantal Olive Kanina. I'm here with your movie. Yes, the movie recommendation this morning, the first is Agile, that is a 2024 spy action comedy film directed and produced by Matthew Vaughn and written by Jason Fuchs. The film features an ensemble cast that includes Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Brian Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, and Henry Cavill, Dua Lipa, Ariana DeBose, John Cena, and Samuel L. Jackson. Take a look at the trailer. This is indeed an interesting one.
The book is phenomenal, sweetie, but
what happens next? It's called a cliffhanger, Mother. Ellie, it's called a cop-out.
Whoa, hey, there's a cat in there. Oh my God, you're Ellie friggin' Conway. Author of Argyle series, Ellie Conway. I am such a fan.
Oh yeah? What is it you do?
Espionage.
Would you sign my book?
Here we go. I love this book. Come on.
Who are these people?
Real life spies.
Why would they care about me?